Guys, welcome to the video. This video is dedicated to the anterior thoracic wall muscles. Before we start with that, we need to revise the basic concept of the respiration. That is, during inspiration, the intrathoracic volume needs to be increased so that the air is flown into the alveoli, and during expiration, with the relaxation of the inspiratory muscles, the intrathoracic volume is decreased and the air is pushed out of the lungs or the alveoli. Now, with that, we need to revise the layers of anterior thoracic wall. Obviously, from superficial to deep, we have skin, we have superficial fascia. Just beneath that, we have the first layer of muscular layer, that is serratus anterior. Serratus anterior is a really big muscle that fans out from the rib 1 to rib 9, and then it terminates into the scapula. Just beneath that, we have the external intercostal muscle. We have the intercostals, which are basically the intrinsic muscles. We will study about the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic muscles. External intercostal muscles are external, they are muscles of inspiration, whereas internal and innermost intercostal muscles are the muscles of expiration. But a special thing that we need to remember is that between innermost and the internal intercostal muscles, we have the neurovascular structures, which are vein. The word vein is important because veins are situated anteriorly, then we have the arteries, and then we have the nerves situated posteriorly. Just beneath that, we have innermost intercostal muscles, and beneath that, it is not mentioned here, we have the endothoracic fascia, and beneath endothoracic fascia, the parietal start, the pleura start, and then the lungs, obviously. Now, we have two categories of the anterior thoracic muscles. Why? Because first category is your intrinsic muscle, the second is your extrinsic muscle. Why are they categorized differently? Because of their insertion. The intrinsic muscles are intrinsic in their attachments. They originate from the exoskeletal system, and then they terminate into the exoskeletal system. So they may terminate into the ribs, they may start from the clavicle, they may start from the vertebra, they are just attached to the exoskeletal system contents. Whereas the extrinsic muscles, they attach the exoskeletal system with the peripheral system. Like they can insert into the humerus, they can insert into the clavicle, they can insert into the scapula. So obviously, based on their locations, we know that the intrinsic muscle are directly involved in the phenomena of respiration, in the movements of respiration, whereas the extrinsic muscles can be involved in the movement of the upper limbs, they can be involved in the movement of your arms, of your trunk, of the thorax, obviously, and or of the head. Now we will start with the intrinsic muscles. Intrinsic muscles have three layers. They're all the intercostal muscles, so obviously they are between the ribs. External intercostal muscles, obviously they are external, they are called the muscles of inspiration. They are situated between the two ribs. They connect the lower border of the first rib or the rib above to the superior border or the upper border of the ribs below, and when they contract, they bring the outward and forward, they bring the ribs upward and outward. So directly they are increasing the intrathoracic diameter so that the air can flow into the alveoli. So they start from the tubercle of the ribs and to extend to the costochondral joints. Now, where is the tubercle of the ribs? The tubercle of the ribs articulates with the vertebral facets, and then costochondral, obviously these are the joints with the sternum. So inferior margin of the superior rib to the superior margin of the inferior rib, that is what we need to remember. And all intercostal muscles are innervated by the intercostal nerves from T1 to T11. Coming to the internal intercostal muscles, since they were inspiratory muscles, these will be expiratory muscles. They are situated beneath the externals, because that is why they are called internal intercostal muscles. Now, intrinsic or the internal intercostal muscles are not employed in the quiet expiration, because expiration or exhalation is a passive process. It happens so by the relaxation of the muscles that are involved in the inspiratory process. So if we are having quiet expiration, then it will happen so with the relaxation of external intercostal muscles and of the diaphragm, which is situated inferiorly. But if we need to push the air out after quiet exhalation, that is called your forced expiration. That happens with the contraction of your internal intercostal muscles and innermost intercostal muscles. Internal intercostal muscles, they run opposite to the external intercostal muscles. They start from the costal angle or the costal groove of the rib above, and then they terminate in the superior border of the ribs below. So when they contract, they pull the ribs downwards, they further decrease the intrathoracic volume so that air can further pushed out of the lungs. After the internal interthoracic muscles, they are also supplied by they're innervated by the intercostal muscles from T1 to T11. Then we have the presence of neurovascular structures, when we have studied about that. And then we have innermost intercostal muscles. The only thing special about innermost intercostal muscle is that they are incomplete sets, and they are situated in the inner surface of the ribs, and they can cross more than one intercostal space. That is important because intercostal external and internal intercostals don't do that. And then beneath that we have endothoracic fascia, which separates the muscle layer from the parietal pleura and other pulmonary structures. These were the intrinsic muscles, the intercostal muscles, external, internal, and innermost. Then we have the presence of extrinsic muscles. Revising that, extrinsic muscles are those which are inserted into the skeletal system, peripheral skeletal system. These are 4 muscles: pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, serratus anterior, and subclavius. Coming to this horrible diagram, I hope it does some good. We have pectoralis major, which is a huge muscle which starts from the medial one third of the clavicle to the 7th rib, and then it terminates into the medial groove of the humerus. It is supplied by the pectoral, medial, and lateral pectoral nerve. Whereas these red muscles, these are called pectoralis minor. They start from rib 1 and then terminate at rib 5, and then they get inserted into the cricoid process of the scapula, which is not visualized here. So they are supplied by the pectoralis lateral medial pectoral nerve. Beneath that we have green colored muscles. So basically these are not only these muscles. Serratus anterior is a huge muscle which starts from rib 1 to rib 9. It spans out, it is the anterior most muscle, and then it covers the entire thoracic wall, and then it terminates into the medial surface of the scapula. It is supplied, since it's a long muscle, it is easy to remember that it is innervated by the long thoracic nerve. And after that we have subclavius. Subclavius is not visualized here. It is not tried to be visualized here because it's a band-like structure which stabilizes the scapula and the the clavicle and the first rib. It connects the clavicle with the first rib so that they can be fixated while the other ribs are moved to facilitate the respiration. So these were the anterior thoracic wall muscles. This most simplest explanation we can have, the simplest classification we can have. We have skin, then we have superficial fascia, then we have serratus anterior, then we have intrinsic muscles which are external intercostal, internal intercostal, innermost intercostals, and then we have the endothoracic fascia, then the pleuras. After that we studied about the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles, and that they are categorized based on their attachments, based on their insertions. Intrinsic muscle has 3 sets of intercostal muscles, which are external intercostal muscles, intrinsic or internal intercostal muscles, and innermost. We studied that they are supplied by the intercostal nerves, which are T1 to T11, and then external are of the muscles of inspiration, internal are the muscles of expiration, and then the innermost are functionally similar to the internal intercostal muscles. After that we studied about the extrinsic muscles. Extrinsic muscle consists of pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, serratus anterior, subclavius, and we drew the diagram here, and we know that pectoralis major ends till 7th rib, and then pectoralis minor till the rib 5, serratus anterior all the way to rib 9, and subclavius is only attaches with the subclavia, yani clavicle with the first rib. It fixates the first rib. That was it. We will continue the posterior thoracic wall muscles in the next video.